You can't come to Thanksgiving until you apologize, my parents said after I refused to co-sign my sister's $26,000 car loan. She said, surprise. It's time you heard this. You were adopted. I smiled back. Surprise accepted. That night, Grandpa didn't say a word. He just handed me a small envelope. And then, my name's Evan. I'm 31, the oldest, the one who fixes the Wi-Fi, files everyone's taxes, remembers birthdays, and shows up early to carry folding tables out of Dad's truck. I rent a small apartment, drive a paid-off Corolla, and work as a systems analyst. No drama, no debt, no favors owed. At least that's who I was before my family decided I was also their walking credit score. Sunday night, Mom called a quick meeting at the house to plan Thanksgiving. The dining room smelled like cinnamon candles and lemon cleaner. Football hum in the living room, muted. My sister Jenna sat at the far end with a glossy brochure face down like it was a secret everyone already knew. Let's start with a reminder, Dad said, drumming his fingers on the table like a judge about to read a sentence. Respect in this family isn't optional. I didn't know I'd need armor to discuss stuffing. Mom folded her hands. You can't come to Thanksgiving until you apologize, she said. Crisp like a script. You embarrassed your sister. I blinked. For what? Jenna flipped the brochure over. A brand new crossover MSRP in big friendly numbers. $26,000. All I needed was a cosign. She said, you made it weird at the dealership. I said no. I said, that's not weird. That's a sentence. Dad's jaw tightened. Family helps family. Family doesn't take someone's signature like it's a party favor. I said, chair scraped, tension like a cord pulled tight. I felt that old heat in my face. The one from every time I'd been cast as the ungrateful one for not volunteering my wallet. Jenna looked at me, all sugar. Since you won't step up, surprise. It's time you heard this. You were adopted. The room went very still. Mom avoided my eyes. Dad stared through me. Jenna watched for impact like a kid waiting for fireworks. I waited for the punch to land. It didn't. Surprise accepted, I said. And it came out calmer than I felt. Okay. Jenna's smile twitched. That's it. No meltdown. I have one later scheduled, I said. Right after laundry. Mom sighed like I had personally ruined the casserole. Evan, show some respect. We didn't want to tell you this way, but you forced our hand. You owe this family. I owe you an apology for not co-signing. I said, got it. Dad leaned back. So it's decided. Until you apologize. You stay home on Thanksgiving. The clock over the stove ticked too loud. In the living room, the muted game replayed something in slow motion. A player missing a catch he'd never had. Nobody noticed Grandpa slide in from the hallway. He didn't say a word. His cardigan hung loose on his shoulders, eyes steady on me. He pressed a small, worn envelope into my palm and closed my fingers around it. Then he patted my hand once, like a period on a sentence, and shuffled back down the hall. I slipped the envelope into my jacket. No one asked what it was. No one asked if I was okay. On my way out, Jenna called after me. Sing song. Think about the loan. It's not even that much. I paused at the door. You think that because it isn't your name on it. She rolled her eyes. God, you're dramatic. I drove home with the windows cracked, November air biting, the envelope burning a silent hole in my pocket. I didn't open it. Not yet. I sat in the parking lot, keys in my hand, realizing a new fact. You can love a family and still refuse to be the bank. That night, I put the envelope on my kitchen table next to a chipped mug and the bills I'd already budgeted for. I washed 2 dishes. I fed my plant. I stared at the ceiling. When I finally slid a thumb under the flap, the paper inside felt old and careful, like something saved for a long time. I didn't become the responsible one because I'm special. I became it because someone had to be the brake pedal. Jenna is 26. Charming, quick, and always one story away from a fresh start. College, then a gap year, then a second major, then a certificate that was definitely going to change everything. Retail job, then a boutique job, then an Etsy shop, then consulting. Somehow, all of that required nicer phones, seasonal trips, and last-minute emergencies that hit the exact day her rent was due. Spot me just this once, she'd text. I'll Venmo you Friday. Friday never came. The Venmo requests sat like museum pieces under a thin layer of dust. When I was 24, Dad called. We're proud of you, son, and we need a favor. Their furnace died. I put $2,200 on my credit card, and set up a payment plan nobody honored. The next spring, I covered Jenna's last 2 classes so she could graduate on time, $980. The next fall, I co-signed her lease because landlords are unfair. 2 months in, she forgot to pay. I paid to protect my credit. If I said no, I was cold. If I said yes, I was so generous until the next ask. The family group chat, Fam Jam, was a running ad for expectations. Mom, dinner at 6. Evan, bring your laptop to fix the printer. Dad, Evan, you know about insurance stuff. What's the cheapest? Jenna, hey big bro, can you add me back to your phone plan? My provider is trash. When I asked for help once after my car threw a code. Silence. Then a sticker. A cartoon thumbs up. The rule was simple. Evan's time and money are communal property. Evan's boundaries are offense. It's not like I never messed up. I had my broke months. I ate beans and rice and said next paycheck to myself like a spell. But it was my mess, my fix. I didn't outsource the consequences. So, when Jenna asked me to co-sign a $26,000 car note because the rate is amazing and it'll help my credit, I said no. Not because I'm cruel, but because I'm awake. Her debt would become my debt the first time she ghosted a statement. The salesperson's pin lingered. Jenna went glassy-eyed furious, the kind that passes for tears until you notice there's no water. She clutched Mom's arm on the way out of the dealership. He just likes power. He wants to hold it over me. Mom's mouth thinned. We'll talk about this at home. We did. And then they dangled Thanksgiving like a prize with a lock on it. People might think adoption was the real grenade. It wasn't. That was more like a sparkler wave too close to my face. The real blast had been building for years in my inbox receipts. I opened Grandpa's envelope at midnight with a bad feeling and a good cup of tea. Inside were 3 things. A black and white baby photo of me with a note on the back in Grandma's blocky handwriting. Evan brought to us on purpose. A photocopy of the adoption decree with my tiny footprint stamped at the bottom. And a folded letter in Grandpa's careful print. Kiddo, if you're reading this, someone used the word adopted to hurt you. They're wrong. We chose you like a door we walked through with our eyes open. If your folks forget that, that's on them. Practical matters. There's a small CD at First Pioneer Bank in your name. We started it when you were 3. It's not the lottery, but it's real. I promised your grandma I'd tell you when the time was right. She said that time is when he needs proof he isn't crazy. The banker's name is on the back. He's decent. Use it for you. Not for emergencies that show up the same day as nails, lashes, or football tickets. Love, G. On the back, a name and a phone number in Grandpa's steady pen. The pressure in my chest loosened. Not because of the money. I had no idea how much was there, but because of that line, use it for you. The next morning, Mom left me a voicemail. We love you, but I have to protect Jenna from your hostility. She's the baby, Evan. 10 minutes later, Dad texted in the family group. Remember, Evan owes Jenna an apology before turkey. We vote on these things. No one had voted. They just silently agreed my boundary was rude. Aunt Maggie tossed in a heart emoji. Uncle Rich added, let's keep it positive. Jenna dropped a meme. A turkey holding a sign. No jerks allowed. I typed and erased 15 responses before flipping my phone face down and calling First Pioneer. The banker answered on the second ring. This is Dale. I gave him my name. He paused like it rang a bell. George's grandson, he said, warmth in his voice. Been a while since I heard his laugh. We set an appointment for Thursday morning. He asked me to bring ID. I glanced at the adoption decree on my table, not proof of where I came from, but proof of who stood up for me. Wednesday, Jenna posted a selfie test driving the crossover. Tell me I don't look like this car, and I dare you to be wrong. 2 cousins answered with fire emojis. Mom commented, manifesting. Above it, Dad had posted a screenshot of his calendar. Thanksgiving -1. Don't be late. He tagged everyone, except me. I didn't reply. Instead, I froze my credit. Quietly pulled my phone line off Jenna's device. I started a list called things I pay for that aren't mine, and it grew longer than I wanted to admit. Streaming passwords. The cloud storage Jenna used for her shop. A Prime account. My old gym membership Dad never canceled, but still used. The family Spotify that no one ever paid me back for. I read Grandpa's letter 2 more times. Slept better than I had in months. Thursday morning at the bank, Dale slid a folder across the desk. George came in every year on your birthday, he said. Never missed. He called it your no-guilt fund. The number on the statement wasn't massive, but it wasn't nothing either. Enough for first and last month's rent. Enough for therapy. Enough to finally fix my car. Enough to start a down payment someday, if I protected it. Dale studied me. He told me once, if they ever try to make the boy feel like he's a burden, tell him I did the math. He's the ledger in the black. I swallowed hard. He really said that? Dale gave a small smile. Twice. Then he asked, you want to talk disbursement options? I nodded. Not for them. For me. My phone buzzed. Fam jam lit up. Mom. Reminder. Evan. Come early to set up tables. Dad. If you're mature, you'll show your face. Jenna. Bring your checkbook. Kidding. Not really. That was the moment I realized. I wasn't tired of giving. I was tired of giving to people who called my yes a duty and my no a sin. I slid my phone back in my pocket and told Dale, I think I'm done being the communal resource. He nodded like he'd been waiting for me to figure that out all along. Thanksgiving morning, 10:12 a.m. The group chat pinged like a slot machine. Pictures of pie. A countdown gif. A reminder from Dad. Grace before we eat. No phones at the table. The irony made me laugh in my empty kitchen. I packed a simple bag. Grandpa's letter. Printouts of every transfer I'd made in the last 5 years. 3 screenshots of Jenna's Friday for sure promises. The lease I'd co-signed. A bank alert from the month she'd put a utility in my name by mistake. And a fresh copy of the adoption decree that I wasn't going to fight. I was going to finish at 12:43 p.m. I parked behind the minivan with the proud of my honor student sticker, Jenna's, of course. The maples shook in the wind. A football game played on TV, muted, just like always. Inside, the table looked like a magazine spread. China we only dusted off to impress outsiders. The turkey steaming. Family circling. Jenna spotted me first. Oh, look who decided to show up before apologizing. I set my bag beside a chair. I brought paperwork. Mom's smile tightened. Evan, don't make a scene. I'm not making one, I said. I'm ending one. Dad stood at the head of the table. Before we sit, he announced. Dad gestured like a ringmaster. Evan has something to say. I do. I said. I'm not co-signing. Not now. Not ever. I'm done paying for things I don't use, didn't sign for, and wasn't asked about. Jenna snorted. You rehearsed that? Yes, I said. In my car. I laid papers on the table. Transfers, tuition, deposits, unpaid Friday promises, the lease I carried alone, a power bill in my name for a house I never lived in. Dad flushed. We don't air this on a holiday. We started this on a holiday, I said. You banned me for not signing $26,000 of someone else's debt. I slid the adoption decree to him. Weaponize this again, and I'm gone. Jenna rolled her eyes. We were trying to be honest. You were trying to make me feel like a guest in my own life. Grandpa told me first, without malice. He called me chosen. He gave me my no-guilt fund. I'm not asking for yours. I have mine. Dad laughed ugly. Your grandpa barely. Careful, I cut him off. Say one word against him, and I walk. He's the only one here who never asked me for a dime. Silence. The game played muted on TV. Jenna spat. You're selfish. Yep, I said. With my credit score, my time, my signature. I'm done sharing those with people who call it love until I say no. I dropped the dealership email on the table. My name listed as pre-approved co-signer. Timestamp 2 hours after I'd refused. Did you use my info? It was just a pre-check, Jenna muttered. That salesman's commission won't pay my bill. I've frozen my credit. You're off my phone line. Streaming accounts shut off at midnight. Any fraud? I file a report. Dad slammed the table. Ungrateful grandpa's voice cut through. Sit down, Tom. He stood in the doorway, steady. You taught him to be the net. Then got mad when he stopped letting you jump. Eat or go, kid. Either way, be done. I tucked his letter into my bag. I'm going. I'll see you when you can talk without drafts of bills in your hands. Outside, the quiet followed me like air after a storm. 38 texts lit my phone. Mom calling me cruel, Dad disowning me, Jenna furious about Spotify, Rich telling me not to be dramatic. I didn't reply. Grandpa called later. Pie left. Coffee's on. He handed me a fireproof box, photos, recipes, a safety deposit key. You did good, he said. The next week, I moved the CD into my own account, filed fraud alerts, called the dealership, unsubscribed Jenna from my Amazon. She texted, petty. I answered once. You can use your own card. Mom said I was hurting Jenna's mental health. Dad texted, you are not my son. I saved it, not to reread, but to remember not to respond. Life got quieter. I filled the space with the gym, therapy, real meals, real sleep. 2 cousins DM'd. You're not wrong. They tried with me too. Want to split a Friendsgiving? We did. Cheap pies, laughter, no one saying keep the peace. Consequences moved through the family like weather. For once, I wasn't standing in the rain. Jenna's deal at the dealership fell apart without my name. She went on Instagram Live half crying, half scoffing about haters. Later she texted, "You're literally making me Uber to work." Yes, I replied. Budget for it. 2 days of silence followed, the quietest she'd given me since 2004. Mom tried next. "If you're pulling support, what about Dad's therapy bill?" I didn't pull support, I wrote back. I ended enabling. Boundaries aren't cruelty. She left me on read.